Two of the most important trends in the world of technology these days are agentic AI and quantum computing. But both of these have the potential to revolutionize the way we work and live by giving us capabilities that used to be limited to the realm of sci-fi movies, only now it's real. But there are security implications to each of these that we need to deal with in order to make sure this whole system doesn't run amok. With me today to discuss this is Glenn Schmitz, who served as multiple state-level Chief Information Security Officer roles within the state of Virginia. Welcome, Glenn.
Thanks, Jeff. Great to be here.
Yeah, good to have you. As a CISO, I'm sure you have special considerations when it comes to government data.
Oh, absolutely. When it comes to government data, it's all about the trust of the citizens in my state. And that's where I come in, ensuring their information is safe and secure.
Absolutely. And these lessons that we're going to talk about actually could apply in non-government environments as well, I think. So let's start with agentic AI with agents, where we give them the objective to accomplish a specific thing and then just turn them loose to achieve autonomously whatever it is we asked it to do. It figures out the steps and then does them. Sounds great. What could possibly go wrong, right, Glenn?
Yeah, right.
Okay. So things could go wrong. Let's take a look. We'll start with agentic AI. What are some of the risks that exist with agents?
All right, let's start with the big one, data breaches.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? And the main information that's out there that we need to be concerned about in these breaches is personal identification information.
Personally identifiable information.
And then personal health information.
Yeah, that turns out to be even more valuable in the hands of attackers than the personally identifiable information in many cases.
Absolutely. And then the last, but the big one, intellectual property.
And this is one of the lessons that I'm sure states have as well, but also businesses will have intellectual property, the secret sauce, the keys to the kingdom. You don't want that just being breached and your agent releasing that out into the wild.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What else do we need to consider here?
Well, when you're talking about AI, you need to have something that is ethical, right? Yeah. How is the AI using the information that it has exposure to? And is it making decisions ethically?
Yeah, exactly. It's like with an employee, you would want to make sure that they have the right ethics as well, that they know what they're supposed to do, what things are proper, what things are improper. Well, if you have an agent that's operating autonomously, it's like an employee, and therefore it needs to operate under the same ethical principles that you would expect of an employee. What else do we care about here?
Explainable. We have to have AI that is explainable. How does it come to those decisions? And if that decision is not in alignment with what we like to see as human beings, how can we go about, tweaking that a little bit so it does get to a good outcome?
Yeah, absolutely. You can't just have a black box where we just write "trust me" on it, and whatever we put into the AI, whatever it comes out, we just accept it. We need to understand why it came up with what it did. As the math teachers always said when I was in school, show your work.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a great point, because with AI, we as humans want to be the thought leaders in that space and not the passenger, or even more so, getting locked in the trunk.
Yeah, we don't want the AI being the master of us. We want to make sure that we're the ones controlling it. It's doing the work that we want it to do, not just off hallucinating and doing whatever it is it dreams up.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So that's just a few of the things to consider in the AI space. How about when it comes to quantum systems? What kinds of issues, what's maybe the number one issue that, quantum computers can do really cool stuff for us in the future as they get stronger and stronger, modeling and coming up with new drug therapies and medical treatments and things like that. But what's the potential downside?
Well, let's start with the big one, data breaches.
I think I've heard that one before. So we've got breaches down here as well.
Yeah, the thing about the data breaches here is that the quantum computers, as they come online and become stronger, they'll be able to break our encryption. So think about the data out there that is highly valuable, like financial information.
Yeah. We have transactions, all kinds of stuff flowing all over the place. And if all of a sudden the secrets aren't secret anymore, then that's like somebody just did a jailbreak on the bank. And now everything is out there in the wild. And in the cybersecurity space, historically, we've all been about this thing called the CIA triad. Tell me what that's about.
Yeah, so confidentiality, integrity, and availability, that is our pillars of cybersecurity. And when you talk about quantum computing, the two pillars that are most at risk is confidentiality and integrity.
Yeah, and confidentiality is trying to keep the information that's sensitive and secret, so that only the right people can see it. And if someone is able to break your cryptography with a quantum computer, well, then that one goes out the window. And integrity is trying to make sure that the system hasn't been tampered with, the data hasn't been tampered with. Well, we use cryptographic techniques in order to check for data tampering. So that one goes out the window too. So literally 2 out of the 3 things that we really care about in cybersecurity have gone out the window with a quantum menace, a quantum threat that comes along. So that's something that's going to be a huge risk for us going forward.
Absolutely. And it's not only going forward, that's today.
Now, you say, okay, why do I need to care about this now? Because quantum computers aren't able to break this stuff at this moment.
That is correct. However, our adversaries can harvest now and decrypt later. So think about all the information that you have that has a long shelf life. So they can go grab that now and wait for the quantum computers to catch up with them, and then they can decrypt it then.
Okay, so the solution then would be to build a time machine, go back in time, re-encrypt with all these new quantum safe algorithms that we have, and then come back to the future.
In a perfect reality, yes.
Okay, we'll be working on that one. So Glenn, how is your organization preparing for these kinds of risks that we just talked about? We'll start with Agentic AI and really AI in general.
Yeah, absolutely. So where we started with an oversight committee.
Okay.
So we understand where we have AI in our organization, and most importantly, how we're going to be using it within our organization.
Yeah, and that really cuts to the next area, and that is things of dealing with policy and things of that sort, right? Tell me what you're doing there.
Absolutely. So start with governance, risk, and compliance, right? So we're developing out our policies of how we're going to implement our AI, the processes of where we're going to put it, and most importantly, the procedure of how we're going to be using that.
Yeah, the triple P of policy, process, and procedure. Figuring out all of those kinds of things in a very new space where we've really not had anything in that place before, that's a big job. And I think this oversight is going to be really important. You have to keep looking over this all the time. As the saying goes, if you're satisfied with your security, so are the bad guys. So this is a constant improvement cycle.
If I can add to that real quick, is that don't just add in technologists into this oversight committee, right? What we've done is we brought in a cross-section of our entire organization because the business has a part to play in this as well.
Yeah. This needs to be a balanced kind of multidisciplinary group that understands the legal implications as well as the technology and social implications. So really interesting stuff. Okay, let's move now to the quantum threat. What are you doing now to prepare for the quantum menace?
So much like the AI, we have an oversight committee, we developed out a task force.
Okay.
And part of that task force's job to go out and do an inventory of all of our crypto that we have in our organization.
Yeah. And we call that a cryptographic bill of materials, but it's an inventory of all your uses of crypto in the org.
Yeah, absolutely. And then once we have that list, now we can risk assess which crypto that's out there that needs to be replaced right away based on the value of our data.
Yeah, exactly. Because you can't secure what you can't see, and you can't fix the crypto you don't know about. And it would be nice if you could just go out and wave a magic wand and fix all of these at once. I'm guessing it's not going to be that easy. So how are you going to figure out which ones to do first?
Right. So we have to triage that, right? So we start looking at what information, again, is most important to my organization, be it PII, PHI, or intellectual property, and we start building out that triage.
Yeah. So and a prioritization of those things.
Absolutely. So as we're looking at this, there's no new problem here, right? We're talking about inventory asset management. We're talking about vulnerability management.
Yeah. These are very much well-heeled principles that we've had all along. Now we're just applying it to this new particular risk space. So prioritize these things. Look, we had a client who they looked at in their CBOM and they found custom crypto implementations, 4,000 of these. Okay, so that means if they convert one per day, guess how long that's going to take? Over 10 years. That's a Herculean task that they've got, which is why they're going to have to assess the risk, why they're going to have to figure out what the priorities are, because they can't do them just all at once.
Absolutely. One other thing we need to put on the board here, and that's vendor management, because we all have third-party vendors, and all those third-party vendors that come and use our data, or we provide them our data to do work for us, they have to encrypt that.
Yeah.
So they have to be looking at post-quantum encryption as well.
Exactly. And your suppliers who are giving you technology, they need to make sure that their stuff is quantum safe. You might hear 2 different acronyms here, quantum safe cryptography or post-quantum cryptography. They mean basically the same thing, but if you're going to acquire new software, you want to make sure that it meets the requirements of those things and makes them more future-proof. Ultimately, what's the goal that we're trying to get to here?
Well, we're trying to get to what's called crypto agility.
Yeah.
And what is crypto agility? The ability to plug and play new cryptography algorithms as they come available to us when our old ones are deprecated.
Yeah, exactly. Because we never know what might happen in the future. We might learn that one of our, what we thought was quantum safe algorithms actually has a break in it. And I don't want to have to go back and revisit all of that process again. I want to be able to go back and, just like with modular building blocks, pull one of those algorithms out and snap another one in. That's crypto agility. Okay, Glenn, now we've looked at the risks and we've looked at what kinds of things need to be done, what you're doing in your organizations. How about just some overall concluding advice for other chief information security officers facing these kinds of threats? What should they do?
Absolutely. First and foremost, be proactive. Get out in front of this, because what you don't want to be is the guy that's on the train track and the train runs you over. You want to be the guy sitting at the station, watching it come in nice and safe and secure.
Absolutely. And we know this train is coming down the track, so nobody can later come back and say, nobody told me. No, we're telling you right now, so you're informed. What else?
Well, look at the risks and translate that risk into what it's going to cost to remediate the risks. And then pass that on to your leaders. Let the leaders that have the money in the organization help you remediate these problems to help the organization as a whole.
Yeah, we got to train them, because these are the ones that are probably going to be controlling the purse strings. If they don't understand what these risks are, then they're not going to see a reason why they should give you money for post-quantum cryptography. That sounds like a boondoggle to somebody who doesn't know what the actual risks are. So we train these folks so that they can give us the money. And then who else?
Well, the workers, the people that work with every day, that deal with our information. They're the ones that are going to be responsible to implement the remediations.
Absolutely. And they're the ones who can support this mission or undercut it. So we can come up with all the kind of money and all the big picture ideas, but at the end of the day, these are the ones who are actually going to implement this and enforce it. And we need them to be on our side. And for them to do that, they need to understand what it is that they're facing to begin with. So ultimately, I guess what we're saying is that an ounce of prevention is better than a pound of cure. So what we want to do is focus on that ounce of prevention. That's a whole lot less expensive than the pound of cure. So, Glenn, thank you. I think we have a better understanding now as a result of this discussion about what the risks are for these two really important technological drivers that everyone is seeing. Let's get out in front of this. I'm glad people like you are taking care of this for our state governments, and the same principles can apply to the commercial space as well. So thank you for coming in.
Thanks, Jeff. It's been great.